Welcome back to Lineout Lab. My name is Peter O'Donnell. In this video, we're going to look at the role of the +1 or the ripper. It doesn't always have to be the +1, of course, and how they rip and punch to get maximum impact at maul time. So to start off, we're going to look at Josh van der Flier here in the red scrum cap. And I want you to notice how he gets one hand over, one hand under as he looks to get shoulder on as he's ripping the ball. And what I firmly believe it's a really hard skill to do well. If you can go for absolute punch and lose transition, or lose the transition and lose the timing and basically mess it up. And also to do it, for me anyway, as a coach, I try and promote that you're able to rip on both sides, because I want to try and keep the ball in the middle or in a particular place on the inside, particularly on that initial rip. So to try and have consistency, that's something that I try and promote. But I think to be able to actually just rip and get one hand over, one hand under, and get shoulder on at the same time is a really challenging skill. We'll just look at Josh van der Flier again. I think this is class, to be honest with you. He's one of the best. And you can also see, just if I freeze it here, he's trying to come down with the jumper and get that timing spot on. Now, maybe the maul isn't necessarily the absolute focus. This is kind of not necessarily an exit, but they're not necessarily going for the big push here. They're just looking to try and suck in defenders and then use the ball. So they're not going for an absolute a maximum maul effort, so to speak. But it does give you a really good image here of his eyes on the ball. He's coming down with the jumper, one hand over, one hand under, and he's going to try and hit with the shoulder as well. So I think it's a really underappreciated skill, but I really value it if you're trying to build your maul to get maximum punch. The thing about this man here is he's not as tall as some of these other guys, so he does have gravity as an advantage to him, is that it's easier for him to get down low. If that's James Ryan, for example, doing that, that's a much harder skill for a guy who's 6'9", 6'6" plus, for any of those tall guys. So there is that aspect too. I don't think it's a skill that maybe everyone could do, but I do think it might free up for certain mauls, certain scenarios. Look, a number of people are going to have to do it. So even if you're 6'3", 6'4", it's something that I think you'll have to be able to do. So, well, actually, you notice how Ireland actually use this on a number of different plays. In this example, it's a breakout, and you can see he does the same thing. And whilst, okay, he's not going for that maul punch that I'm kind of referring to, it's the same sort of picture that we want to present. So if we freeze it here now, you can see he is trying to do the same thing. He's just not being as aggressive with his punch in terms of his shoulders. He's just really just wants to make sure he gets control of the ball. The guys on the outside here and here are just trying to make sure that they can keep it stable and steady enough that he'll be able to arc around and get around and do his role in terms of the breakout efficiently. So let's just play it on here. We'll see he hits. There's a bit of protection there from the second line and the front wall, and he's gone. And ball in two hands, and that's the other thing as well. Once you transfer it and get it back, if you need to break, you can still keep your two hands on the ball if you're doing a breakout play. Similar sort of option here, and we see him go for the line, but he does get a bit of a punch as well, though. So notice again, keep your eye on the red scrum cap. Attacking team win the ball in the middle backspace. He commits to a bit more, and then he goes, but he's got good control of that ball. So it's really important for breakout plays like this that we have the same type of effort, or the same type of animation, so to speak, in terms of what you're looking to do. And that's really important that you're consistent, because in particularly this example, it's going to get defenders to bite and commit. So we can just see the hands here, one hand over, one hand under. So he's trying to do the exact same thing. And what they do really well, they get a really nice punch here. So it's a bit more aggressive in terms of the second line in particular to try and get a punch. But you can see where Leicester are, the defending team, they have to really commit. And look, from a tactical perspective, they've obviously tried to target the fact that the +1 for defensively tends to hit on a slightly different note. You can see that the +1 here at the back of the lineout, he will kind of track. Here he is now moving towards the middle. He's going to track. So this is more of a tactical play. So that's why that animation is really important when you have any sort of tactical plays like this. So he's in, it looks like they're going to go heavy for the drive, and then he slips out, and it actually results in him scoring a really good try. Really good finish. Now we're going to look at Ireland scoring a maul try against South Africa a couple of years ago, and we'll see the man of the red scrum cap here. He's going to do the same sort of thing, except that they're going to go very, very hard and heavy for a maul try, which they score. So let's look at it here. We get a really good example, or a visual of him going for that really big punch, which is a really hard skill to get that full commitment. In the end, he actually gets the ball over here. I still don't know how he did it, to be honest with you, because I think that's pretty good defense from South Africa. But what we get a really good look at there is the rip and the punch. So as you slow it down here, you can see the one hand over, one hand under, and then he's going for a really big drive and you can see that some of the second line guys are binding on him as well. And he's gone for a full punch, big punch to get that initial impact, get it moving forward. And somehow he gets the ball down in there. You can just see the red scrum got down the bottle. Replays did show the try was awarded, so really good try. But yeah, what I really like about this bit is how he's able to control the ball whilst he's still going for a punch, but also the second line are still looking to bind on him. Which you can see here, you can just see the arms. You can just see the arms binding on him as he's going for that punch. We get another look over here. What I like about this, though, slightly different, is that he's now coming from a different position. He's now come from the back of the lineout, and he's going for the exact same thing. And Ireland get a really good maul punch in this example here. Now, this one's a little bit different. This is actually from Wales under 20s against Ireland under 20s recently in the Six Nations. And what I want you to watch is the plus one here. It looks like there's less technical aspects for this. He's just gone for an out-and-out punch. And he's less as concerned about where his hands are. In the end, it's actually not bad defence initially, but what Wales do really well is they stick in the fight really well here, and they get over for a good try. So let's just look at it. So look at his hands here. He just goes for an absolute, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can. And he does end up with the ball. He does rip it back to his inside, inside being close to the touchline for me. That's how I kind of phrase it. So they end up working it really nicely down the blind side, and they get over for a good try. But I'll just show you that punch again because I think it's a pretty good effort, to be fair. So let's just look at his starting position here. You can see he's just set off here, and he's just going to absolutely attack this with everything he has. If you keep an eye on his hands, you can see there's not a huge amount of, one hand over, one hand under. He probably more works it to his right side, but he just has a full metal jacket. He just goes for it, no holding back. And the second line really go for it too, to get that big punch. So in this example, I think it's a really, really high level of skill as well to be able to do that and to be able to control the ball, because I see a lot of people often mess it up and knock it on or whatnot, or we don't get maximum punch. So I think it's a really underrated skill to be able to do that, to get the one hand over, one hand under, and to get the shoulder on as well and rip the ball back cleanly is really, really difficult. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts.